I know. You're supposed to trust. You're supposed to give people space. You're supposed to not spiral when you hear a voice that sounds like hers. But guess what? I never planned to come home early. It just happened. Or maybe deep down, I wanted it to happen. Maybe deep down, I knew. The trip was supposed to be 4 days, just me, my 2 best friends, and a weekend cabin in the mountains. No service, lots of wine, and a break from thinking too much. But by the second night, all I could think about was him. His face, his voice, the way he always said, "I love you," right before falling asleep, like it was some final thought he couldn't bear to lose. And I missed that. I missed him. So I lied. I told the girls I had a migraine, that I'd Uber back to the city and take the late train home. No one questioned it. No one thought it was weird. I even texted him good night, like I was still away, so he wouldn't expect me. I got home around 10:42 p.m. I remember the time because I looked at my phone before I unlocked the door. I was smiling, giddy even, like a teenager about to surprise their crush. I imagined his face when he saw me, wide-eyed, sleepy, pulling me into one of those lazy, warm hugs he gives when he's half asleep, but still so happy to see me. But the house was quiet. Not the kind of quiet you expect from someone watching TV. The kind of quiet that feels like absence. I stood in the hallway, bags in hand, trying to convince myself that maybe he fell asleep early, or went to get snacks, or something. Anything. Then I heard it. A laugh. Not loud, not obnoxious, soft, light, feminine, and worse, familiar. I froze, my ears instantly sharpened. Another sound followed. A thud, a giggle, then a shh, like someone trying to hush someone else through laughter. I walked forward slowly. Each step on the hardwood floor felt like a betrayal, my own house, and yet it felt like I was trespassing. Like I wasn't supposed to be there, like I was the one with the secret. My heart pounded so loud I was sure they could hear it. The voices were coming from the upstairs bedroom. Our bedroom. And in that moment, I had a choice. Walk away or open the door. I chose the door. I didn't kick it open, I didn't scream, I didn't even knock. I just turned the handle. It was unlocked. The door creaked. Just slightly. And in that creak, I swear, I heard my heart split. The lights were off. Only the faint glow of his phone screen lit the room for a moment. And in that glow, I saw his face. Awake. Sitting up in bed. Shirtless. He wasn't startled. He didn't flinch. He just stared at me. Like I was the unexpected one. "You're home," he said. Flat. Almost like a question, but not really. I couldn't speak. My throat closed like it was rejecting air. Then she moved. From the other side of the bed. A silhouette, bare shoulders, long hair. Her head turned toward me, and in the dim light, I saw her eyes. And God, I knew those eyes. It was Lacey, his coworker. The one he said was just really good at graphic design. The one who laughs at everything. The one I never worried about. Because who worries about someone they met at your own wedding? She didn't speak either. She just clutched the blanket and pulled it over herself like it would make her disappear. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't run. I smiled. I smiled so wide it scared even me. Because it wasn't real. It wasn't human. It was survival. And then I said something I'll probably regret for the rest of my life. "Don't worry, I'll come back when you're done." I turned. Walked out. Down the stairs. Closed the front door behind me like I was just leaving a dinner party early. The cool air hit my face, and that's when the tears came. Not loud, not sobbing, just silent, falling, like they'd been waiting their turn. My phone buzzed. One message. From him. It said, Wait for what? For another lie? Another explanation? Another round of, it's not what it looks like? I got in my car and just sat there. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the driveway, and in my head, everything was screaming, but I didn't drive, not yet, because I needed to understand what just happened. Not just what I saw, but why? Why now? Why her? And most of all, had it already happened before? Or was this just the first time I caught it? The thing about betrayal is that it never really starts with the betrayal itself. It starts with a glance that lingers too long, a laugh that feels too rehearsed, a message you weren't supposed to see but did. just long enough to remember the name. I used to tell myself I was paranoid, that he was just friendly, that I was projecting my own insecurities onto something innocent. But now, sitting in the car outside our house, my hands still gripping the steering wheel, like it was the only thing holding me together, all those little moments came back like fireflies, one by one, lighting up the dark. The weekend, he said he had a team off-site and came home smelling like a perfume I don't own. The time I walked into the office and saw them sitting way too close, laughing at something on his laptop, and when I walked in, the screen went dark. He said it was just a meme. I said nothing. The time she posted a selfie at some downtown bar and tagged random cocktails after work. But he had told me he stayed late for a client call. Again, I said nothing. Because what would I say? I think your laugh is too loud when she talks. I think you lie prettier than I breathe. No. I just folded it all up and buried it under, he loves me and we're fine. We had dinner with her once. A group thing, everyone from the office. She wore this soft green dress and laughed like everything was funny. She hugged me on the way out, tight, like we were friends. And he smiled watching it happen. I didn't know then that he'd probably already memorized the way her back felt under that dress. I used to think love was something that kept you safe. But now I'm learning it's also what blinds you. You don't see the cracks because you're too busy building over them with hope. You don't notice the silence because you fill it yourself. You don't ask questions because deep down, you already know the answers and you're not ready to hear them. I don't remember making the decision to go back inside. One moment, I was staring at the windshield, blinking through my own reflection. The next, I was standing in the hallway again. The house smelled like lavender and betrayal. I don't know why I thought they'd still be there, but they were. He was pacing at the bottom of the stairs, hands in his hair like he was trying to pull a confession out of his own skull. Lacey sat on the couch, small and curled up, like if she shrunk enough I'd forget she existed. When he saw me, he opened his mouth, probably to say something rehearsed. I didn't let him. How long? I asked, not shouted, not cried, just said it, flat, sharp. A cut. He swallowed, blinked. A few weeks, he said. It didn't mean... I laughed, loud, ugly. A sound that didn't belong in this house in this moment, but it came out anyway. Don't you dare say it didn't mean anything. He didn't. Not because he agreed, but because he saw that I wasn't asking. Why her? I asked next. He looked at me like he didn't understand the question, or maybe he was trying to come up with an answer that wouldn't hurt more than it already did. Because she made me feel seen, he finally said. You always had everything together, and sometimes I just felt like I didn't exist in your world. That hit harder than I expected, because part of me understood, and that part hated itself for it. I turned to Lacey. She didn't look at me. Did you ever feel guilty? I asked. She opened her mouth, but her voice cracked. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispered. But it did, I said. And now it's mine to carry. Silence. Heavy. Dense. Like fog that suffocates instead of hides. I walked past them, straight to the bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, started throwing things in. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew it couldn't be here. Not tonight, not anymore. He followed me, tried to touch my arm. I pulled away so fast it felt like recoil. Don't, I said. Please don't. I zipped the suitcase, stood straight, looked him dead in the eye. You broke something, and I don't know if I'll ever want to fix it. Then I left. Again, there's a version of me that stayed. I see her sometimes. Late at night, when the world is quiet and the only sound is my own breathing. She's standing in the kitchen, barefoot, stirring pasta while he scrolls through his phone at the table. She laughs at his jokes, even though they don't hit like they used to. She asks him how work was, even though she knows he's going to lie. She kisses him goodnight, even though his lips taste like guilt. That version of me learned how to live with silence. She mastered the art of looking away. She told herself that love is choosing to stay, even when every part of you is begging to run. She'd wake up in the middle of the night and check his messages, smile when she didn't find anything, cry when she did. She'd start to shrink, bit by bit, until she didn't recognize herself in photos anymore. And when her friends asked how things were, she'd say, fine, always fine. That version of me would survive. But she wouldn't live. Not really. And that's the part that breaks me. because I was so close to becoming her. I was this close to choosing comfort over truth. But something in me, something bruised and tired and barely breathing, chose to leave. Not for revenge, not for some dramatic exit, but because I remembered who I was before I forgot myself for him, and I wanted her back. The texts started the next morning, then the calls, then the knock at my sister's door. Everyone had questions. I had none. What happened? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? No, I didn't. Because talking meant reliving, and reliving meant bleeding. My best friend brought over wine and 1,000 worried looks. She sat beside me on the couch like I was made of glass. I hated it. You don't have to say anything, she whispered. But I will say this, you didn't deserve it. I nodded. Because what else could I do? My mom called, left voicemails like prayers. My brother texted once, if I see him, I'll knock his teeth out. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care, but because the silence felt safer. I didn't cry. Not then. Not when they hugged me. Not when they offered their versions of comfort. I just kept seeing that moment. The door, the bed, her eyes, his voice. You're home. Like it was my timing that was wrong. People wanted to know if I'd forgive him. Oh, if I'd ever go back. If I'd talk to her. But they were all asking the wrong questions. The question wasn't, will I forgive? It was, will I ever feel real again? Because when someone you trust burns the foundation, you don't start rebuilding. You start doubting if the ground was ever solid at all. I wasn't angry, not in the way they expected. I was hollow, like everything inside me had been scooped out and replaced with silence. And that scared people more than if I'd screamed. He texted every day. At first it was guilt, then it was grief, then it was desperation. I made a mistake. Please come home. I miss you. It didn't mean anything. The classics. I didn't block him. I didn't answer either. It was like watching someone drown in a pool they jumped into. He sent flowers. I left them outside. He sent voice notes. I didn't listen. One day, he stood outside the building where I was staying. He didn't knock, just waited. Like that alone would erase everything. I watched him through the window, hands in his jacket, eyes on the sidewalk. He looked smaller than I remembered. I used to think love was about holding on, but now I was learning that sometimes it's about letting go. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you started loving yourself more. The first time I almost replied, I stared at the screen for 10 minutes. My fingers hovered. My heart whispered, maybe. My soul said no. I deleted the draft, turned off my phone, made tea instead. I was starting to sleep again. Not well, not deeply, but enough to dream. And in those dreams, he was always just out of reach. Not because he left, but because I was finally walking away. It came in a pale pink envelope with no return address. The handwriting was small, careful, like she was afraid even her letters might offend me. For a second, I thought about throwing it away, just tossing it in the trash, with the rest of the pieces I didn't want to hold anymore. But curiosity is a cruel thing. I opened it. 4 pages, neatly written, no perfume, no dramatics, just words. She started with, I'm sorry, Diaries. Of course. Said it 4 times in the first paragraph. Said she never planned for it to happen. That it started as work, turned into something else. That she thought I deserved to know how much he talked about me, about our life, about how perfect I was. She meant it as a compliment. It didn't land like one. He always said you were the strong one, she wrote. The one who never broke. The one who carried everything without ever complaining. She said he felt invisible. That with me, he sometimes felt like the background character in someone else's movie. And she made him feel important. I read the letter twice, not because it was worth it, but because I needed to know if there was even one line that would make me feel something other than tired. There wasn't. She ended it with, I know you'll never forgive me, but I hope you find peace. I folded the pages, put them back in the envelope, burned it, watched the words curl and blacken and vanish. And as I stood over the sink, watching ashes swirl in the drain, I realized something. I wasn't angry at her. Not really. I was angry at the version of me that let them think I could be broken quietly, that I'd cry and disappear and leave them with no consequences, that I wouldn't rise. It wasn't planned. I was at the bookstore, of all places, trying to find something to read that didn't have the word healing in the title. I turned a corner, and there he was, standing by the nonfiction shelf, holding a book he clearly wasn't reading. Our eyes met. Just for a second. Just long enough for the air to shift. He walked toward me slowly, like I might run. I didn't. Not because I wanted this, but because I needed it to end. "You look," he started. I raised my eyebrows. "Tired?" "No," he said. "Stronger." It caught me off guard, not the word, the sincerity. He stood there like he didn't know what to do with his hands, like he forgot how to exist around me. "I'm sorry," he said. "Not just for what I did, but for how long I let you carry us alone." I nodded, not because I forgave him, but because there was nothing left to say. "Are you happy?" he asked. That word felt so far away, like something I used to believe in. "Not yet," I said, "but I'm closer." He smiled, soft, regretful. "You were always going to outgrow me." I didn't argue. I just turned, walked away, and didn't look back. That was the last thing he ever said to me. And in some strange, bittersweet way, I'm glad it was that. There are mornings when I still wake up reaching for someone who isn't there, not because I miss him, but because my body hasn't caught up to the truth. Healing is strange like that. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't happen in order. It just arrives in quiet moments. When you realize you're laughing again, when your coffee tastes like something instead of nothing, when you no longer flinch at the sound of their name. I moved into a smaller place. Just enough space for me and the parts of myself I'm still learning to hold. I bought a new set of sheets, white, clean, unshared. I keep flowers on the windowsill, fresh ones I buy for myself. There's a quiet here I didn't know I needed, a kind of peace that doesn't beg to be earned. It just is. People still ask what happened. I just smile and say, life, because that's what this was. Not an ending, not a tragedy, not even a betrayal anymore, just a chapter. One I had to live through to become the person I was always meant to be. I'm not whole yet, but I'm mine again, and that is enough.